This is the Penny Forward podcast, the first episode for 2023. I'm your host, Chris Peterson. Liz Botner and Mo Carpenter are also with me, and we'll bring them on in just a moment. And today, we are going to talk about money moves you can make to kick off 2023. But first, we'd like to thank last year's sponsors of the Penny Forward podcast, Accessible Avenue. Ron and Lisa Brooks are working to make transportation accessible to everyone, and we appreciate their sponsorship of the podcast all of last year. The APH Connect Center, they provide lots of valuable resources and information for people and families of people who are visually impaired. And also, Brolin Wealth Management. Kane Brolin is a blind certified financial planner who can help you no matter what stage of life you are in. So all three of those sponsors were a great help to making sure that the Penny Forward podcast was something that we could afford to produce last year. So while we're working out sponsorship relationships for 2023, we want to make sure to thank them for their support in 2022. Now, let's bring on Liz Botner and Mo Carpenter. Liz and Mo, how are you?
Doing all right.
Good.
How about you, Mo?
Hello. I'm doing good. Still a little under the weather, but we'll try and keep the coughing out of the episode.
Yeah, well, just keep your finger on the cough button there and we'll just do fine. So the idea for this episode came out of an article that I wrote about 3 money moves I made to kick off 2023. It was not just me, it was my family too. And those money moves were 3 things. The first was, and I always do this every few months, got a copy of my TransUnion credit report in Braille by calling 877-332-8228 and following the prompts on the telephone system to request that. You can do that for all 3 of your credit reports, and I recommend that you call about every 4 months, so January, April, and about August or September or so, and request one from each of the 3 credit bureaus, TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian, and then you can get your own accessible credit reports. They come in large print, Braille, or audio CD, and if all you want to do is just get them through a PDF, and you can get them instantly that way, you can always go to annualcreditreport.com and do that as well. We also opened a new high-yield savings account. Interest rates have increased a lot over the last year, and that means that interest rates on savings accounts are looking really interesting for those of us who like to save and make our money work for us. And I learned that my bank offered a new savings account that was returning 3% more than the savings account I had at the same bank. So I swapped out my old savings account with a new one. My old one was returning 0.30%, and my new one returns 3.30%, which is a pretty big increase. Finally, we switched our phone and our internet plans. Thanks to the Affordable Connectivity Program, you can now get through a lot of internet service providers a $30 a month internet plan that offers at least 100 megabits per second download speeds, if not more. My internet provider offers one that offers 200 megabits per second download speeds at $30 a month. And while they're set up for people who qualify for the Internet Connectivity Program, you don't have to qualify for the Internet Connectivity Program to access these plans, at least not with all providers. And so I, even though I don't qualify, was able to switch down to these. And we didn't tell anyone in my family, except for my wife and I, that we were making the change, because we wanted to make sure that people weren't just complaining because they knew that we had slower internet. We wanted to really know if we were going to miss anything or not. And no one's complained. My wife and I both work from home pretty often. My kids use streaming video all the time. sometimes together, most of the time together. And nobody said anything. It just works like clockwork. But it saved us $50 a month. So that was pretty amazing. We also switched from T-Mobile, where we had 3 cell phone lines costing us $140 a month for the 3, down to Visible by Verizon. It's a prepaid cell phone plan that is offered by Verizon Wireless. It costs a flat rate of $30 a month. And the only trade-off is that you don't get to go into a Verizon store or call a Verizon phone line for tech support. If you want to get tech support, you have to chat with somebody. And their chat system is not entirely accessible, but I don't need to get support all that often, so that doesn't matter to me. But I only pay $30 a month. So for 3 lines at $30 a month, we've gone from $140 a month in cell phone bills down to $90 a month in cell phone bills. We saved ourselves another $50 a month by doing it. So just by making those 2 out of those 3 moves, we've saved ourselves $100 a month. And we're able to put that towards savings for other things that we want more than our cell phone and our internet. Liz, you do anything to kick off 2023 in a big way for yourself?
I have. Some of these things have been completed at the end of last year, but they still are having effect in a positive way this year. One thing I decided to do was to cut the cord, as it were, and get rid of cable and only pay for internet. And in so doing, also sign up for autopay, which has significantly dropped my bill every month because I'm not having cable, and because I'm using autopay, it drops it, I think, by $10 more. Another thing I've done is I have a separate savings account that I use for online apps that might need to be connected to an account that I may not even use all the time, but I need something to use to either deposit money or take money out of it, and to pay friends, family members. And so I had a savings account that I had as a transfer from a different bank over into another bank. And instead of closing it, I decided, you know what, I'll use this. And it's kind of, I think, a more secure way to make sure that my other, that's just the discretionary things go in there, and I'm not touching anything else, and out of sight, out of mind, as it were. The third and most recent thing I did was today, in fact, in about, a half hour, I set up an Able account. And so I haven't yet truthfully deposited any money in it, but the account is there. It's ready to use, and the next step will be for me to actually start putting money into it. But I did it over about a half-hour time frame. I was using my iPhone. I was not at the computer, and it was doable completely. There were some parts of the process where I had to kind of double tap with one finger on edit fields more than once to get them to open. I don't know if that was the website or the phone or a combination of both, honestly, but it is completely doable with an iPhone and VoiceOver, and you can do it in about 30 minutes. So those are my things that I've done.
Wow, that's great. Opening an Able account, and then you set up a separate savings account. It wouldn't have to be a savings account, but you just had one laying around.
Yep.
Like some people do. That's connected to your payment apps, like your Cash App and your Venmo and that kind of thing, so that if someone got a hold of those passwords or something, they could only drain that account instead of, say, your main checking account. That's a really great idea. And then you made the switch from cable TV to I guess no TV, or just to internet. So you're a sports fan, I know.
Yes.
How do you access that content if you don't have TV?
I previously paid for a Sirius XM lifetime membership, and unbeknownst to me, so I have that on the receiver, but unbeknownst to me, included in that actually is the access to the streaming app. And so I, through either the app or my Amazon devices, can stream all the sports that I want. And so I will use like the NHL, the National Hockey League app on my iDevice, or even on the TV. I could pull that up. I think I have a smart TV, but I mainly use that on my phone. Well, I mainly use that with SiriusXM. But if I need to, I can also use it on the phone.
Okay, so do you feel like you're missing out on anything, or are you getting everything you want then?
I am getting everything I want. And if I need something, there are always the streaming services. But I do not miss having TV. I didn't watch it when I had it, so I cut the cord and did not look back.
Wow,
and I'm saving money.
That's fantastic. Good for you.
Not that scary, Chris. I promise.
Well, I don't have to be convinced real hard. I'm not too much of a sports fan, and I've been using a plain old TV antenna for about as long as I can remember. And in fact, it makes me laugh to think about. I was out in my front yard doing something one day, and some lady walked by with her kid, and her kid said, "Mommy, what's that?" And the lady said, "Well, that's how they watched TV back in the olden days." So, right above my horse-drawn wagon was my TV antenna for watching TV like they did back in the olden days. So that's me. Mo, how about you? What are you doing to kick off 2023?
Well, you guys make me feel like such a slacker. I haven't done anything as of yet. One of the first things I need to get done is our internet provider had our bill go up last year. My husband put it off to negotiate our rate because we were supposed to be getting Google Fiber in the neighborhood at some point soon. But it's been a year. So I think it's time to get that negotiated back down to at least saving us a little bit of money. I mean, I'll take $10. So that's item number one. Another thing is I am also looking at doing an Able account. I started that research back in December, but I haven't pulled the plug as of yet to actually get that set up. And my other big goal for the year is to kind of figure out what is going on with our retirement planning, because I'll be honest, it's just kind of been in the back burner for several years. And I think it's time that we get serious about actually planning for the future.
Yeah, it's never too late, and it's never too early either. And many
the
of
earlier
us,
the better, but it doesn't always work out that way.
Absolutely, and in fact, I'm even in that boat. I didn't really start thinking of that real hard until I was in my 30s either. So, it's definitely something that it isn't a catastrophe, and it's not like you haven't been contributing to retirement plans, but you maybe haven't paid that much attention to how they're invested and stuff. Is that right? It's
not been a whole lot that's been added over, the years that my husband has been working, because I have not been. So I have not been contributing at all. And so that's, sure. I just want to get control of that stuff this year.
Yeah.
What I will say about that is that you definitely want to make sure that if your employer puts in so much money of, quote unquote free money,
a match
that at least, because if you don't, then you are missing out. So definitely do that.
Yeah, I know that was our original intent, was to hit some matching funds, but back in the day when we actually set some stuff up, that money wasn't there. So this year we're going to get on top of that.
Awesome. Well, that's really good. And we'd love to hear from you at pennyforward@pennyforward.com about money moves that you're making to kick off 2023. And there are definitely things that we can help you with. You want to know what it's like to open an Able account? Maybe you're a little bit nervous about it because it's not something we do every day, and it maybe seems a little bit scary. Ask Liz. Ask me. I have an Able account open, and Mo will pretty soon too. And while your process may not be exactly the same as ours, depending on which Able program you choose, it still is a good way for you to put away money in savings account that can make your money work for you, and can also protect you from losing means-tested benefits like supplemental security income if you're on those. But even if you're not on those and don't plan to be, there are tax advantages to allowing the growth, the money that you put in your ABLE account to grow tax-free over the years. So it's definitely a valuable tool for us, for those who qualify. And we have a past Penny Forward podcast episode all about ABLE accounts, which may be a little bit difficult to find because it's a couple of years old now, but we may end up doing a new one this year with someone from the ABLE National Resource Center. We just got to put that together. Speaking of other things that we're doing this year, Liz and myself and Mo, when you last heard from us, we're all finishing up the AFCPE symposium, and we didn't announce this on the podcast while we were there because it wasn't public yet, but we can announce now that we have all received scholarships to study for our accredited financial counselor certifications. That process involves studying, passing an exam, and doing 1,000 hours of AFC-related experience work. And so as a part of that experience work, we want and need to be helping you, and you will also be helping us by letting us help you with getting that certification. So we're all very excited about that. And as we work through that process, you're going to hear from us as a group, I would say fairly often, where we'll come on here and we'll be talking about things that we've learned and things that we think will help you manage your money. So please stay tuned throughout the year for that.
For those who may not be familiar, what is AFCPE?
AFCPE is the Association for Financial Counseling and Planning Education, and it's amazing that I can say that without stuttering. Yes, let's all savor that for the moment. Thank you for asking me to repeat that, Liz.
You're welcome.
So again, reach out to us and tell us what you're planning to do to improve your financial health in 2023. Please let us help you, and by helping you, you'll be helping us. And I hope that you'll continue supporting Penny Forward by signing up for a membership for just $9 a month or $99 a year, where you will get access to this podcast a week early, a weekly newsletter, access to our weekly members-only group chats, other bonus content that we may produce throughout the years, and also access to one-to-one financial counseling and other things that have not yet been announced yet, but we're always, always, always looking for more perks. Mo, Liz, anything to add?
I was just thinking, do you want to explain what an ABLE account is real quick? Because that is something all of our listeners might not know so much about.
I certainly can. An ABLE account is a tax-advantaged savings account that is available to people who are blind or have a disability if their disability occurred before they turned age 26. And there is legislation working its way through Congress that would increase that age to 46, but right now it's still 26. And it works a little bit like a Roth IRA, if people are familiar with a Roth IRA. And man, we can go on for hours about this. But essentially what happens is you put your money into the ABLE account today, and it will earn interest throughout the years, and you will not pay taxes on the interest that you earn when you take your money out of your ABLE account, say 10, 15, 20 years down the road, when you have built up a nice nest egg. And there aren't too many strings attached to how you use the money. as long as you use it for qualified disability expenses. And they've set up the categories for qualified disability expenses in such a way that it is hard not to use your Able account money for something that's a qualified disability expense, as long as you pull the money out in a way that benefits you. In other words, you need to spend the money on yourself as the Able account owner, not on your family members or your friends. And otherwise, the categories are things like housing, transportation, food and groceries and other personal care items, education, assistive technology, work-related expenses, things like this. So it really is quite difficult to find things that would not qualify as qualified disability expenses. So don't be afraid of those terms, because you're not really being boxed in real hard by those restrictions. The other thing that an Able account does, if you are on Medicaid or SSI or food stamps or other things like that force you to have less than $2,000 in the bank, if you have more than $2,000 in an Able account, it will not put your ability to receive those benefits at risk. So you can receive gifts from family and friends and put them away in your Able account for something that you need later on, and you don't have to worry about losing your benefits. So they're a pretty great tool, and in fact, they're kind of set up to allow your family and friends to give you gifts. So most Able accounts have a handy dandy gifting page, kind of like your own personal GoFundMe, that you can give to your family and friends if you're saving it for something, and you can say, just put your gifts right in here, and that way I don't have to worry about losing my benefits. So that in short is what an Able account is. Did I cover it in a way that made sense to both of you, or did I miss anything that you can think of?
The one thing that, sorry, Liz, the one thing that I wanted to add was that these are fairly new. I believe they've only been around since around 2016. It might even be a little later than that. So that might be why you don't know a whole lot about them if you don't know anything about them.
That is correct. And Liz, was there something you wanted to add?
I was just going to say, I think you covered it.
All
I
right.
don't think you forgot anything.
All right. Well, I think that's about all the time that we have for today. So I want to thank you for listening to the Penny Forward podcast. Head on over to pennyforward.com and join Penny Forward for $9 a month or $99 a year. And you'll get access to our weekly members-only group chats, our weekly Penny Forward newsletter, early access to the podcast, and much, much more. The Penny Forward podcast is produced by Chris Peterson and Liz Botner. Editing and post-production is done by Brynn Lee at superblink.org. Transcription is provided by Verduin. And again, we'd like to thank last year's sponsors, Accessible Avenue, Brolin Wealth Management, the APH Connect Center, and Dennis and Nicole Molinas. Thanks for listening, everybody. Say goodnight, Mo and Liz.
Good night. Thanks for listening.
Good night, Mo and Liz.